The night was colder than I remembered. The forest was quiet, too quiet. My boots pressed into the snow, and every step made a soft crunch. I could hear the wind move through the pine trees, sharp and thin like glass. I was used to nights like this, empty, silent, and lonely. My wolf side was awake under my skin. He liked the hunt, the silence, the power of being alone. But even he felt the hollowness tonight. It had been years since I lost my pack's trust. Years since the war that left scars across my heart. I kept walking along the border, checking for danger, when a sound cut through the cold air. A cry. It was small at first, weak. I froze. My wolf's ears twitched. I wasn't sure if I had imagined it. But then it came again. Soft, broken, and full of fear. A baby's cry. My pulse jumped. A baby? Here? Out in the snow? I followed the sound, moving fast between the tall trees until I reached the edge of the territory. The scent hit me first. Human. Sweet milk, warmth, and something else. Something faint but sharp. Enemy pack blood. My chest tightened. I looked down and saw a bundle of cloth lying near a rock. Snowflakes had already covered part of it. The crying grew louder when I stepped closer. I knelt, brushing away the snow with my gloves. Inside the bundle was a tiny baby, his cheeks red from the cold, his fists clenched like he was ready to fight the world. A small note rested near his head. The paper was wet, but I could still read the words. Please protect him. He's innocent. My throat closed. My fingers trembled as I picked up the note again, reading it over and over. I didn't want to believe what I was smelling. The enemy scent mixed with the baby's. Whoever left him knew what they were doing. They had placed him where I would find him. I should have walked away. I should have called one of my guards to take him to the city orphanage. That was what a careful alpha would do. But when I reached down and touched his small hand, the baby's tiny fingers wrapped around mine and held tight. Something inside me broke. The walls I had built for years, the coldness that protected me, it all cracked under the warmth of that small hand. Fine, I muttered, pulling the cloak from my shoulders and wrapping it around him. You'll stay with me, little one. He stopped crying almost right away. His big eyes blinked up at me, the color of morning sky, bright, soft, full of trust. I didn't even know his name, but somehow it felt like he already belonged to me. That night, I took him home. My pack members stared in shock when I walked into the mansion with a baby in my arms. Some whispered, others bowed. Alpha, what is that? One of them asked. A child, I said, my voice hard. My son. No one dared to question me after that. I named him Liam. Years passed faster than I expected. Liam grew stronger every day. He had my stubborn eyes and the same quiet way of watching the world. He laughed often, loud and full, and sometimes I caught myself smiling because of it. He would run through the pack house, chasing his wooden wolf toy, shouting, Daddy, look at me! And I would pretend to be busy reading papers just so no one saw me grinning. I taught him to ride a horse, to swim in the river, and to listen to the sounds of the forest like a real wolf. My pack slowly grew to love him too. Some forgot he wasn't born from us. But I never forgot the scent that clung to him, the faint trace of enemy blood that still whispered of danger. One winter evening, everything changed again. Liam had been coughing for days. At first it was small, but then his breathing grew rough, his body hot with fever. No healer in the pack could help. Fear clawed at my chest. I had fought wars, killed monsters, faced death itself, but the thought of losing him made my knees weak. Daddy, I'm cold, he whispered that night, his voice small and cracked. My heart shattered. I picked him up, wrapping him in blankets. You'll be okay, Liam. I promise. I drove him to the human hospital outside the Packlands, not caring that my wolf hated the smell of metal and medicine. The doctors moved fast, taking him from my arms. I paced the hallway, my hands shaking, my mind screaming at the idea of losing the only light in my dark world. After a while, a soft voice spoke behind me. Alpha Hale. I turned around. He stood there. A man in a white nurse uniform, his hair a soft honey color, his eyes warm and brown. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. He looked gentle, almost too gentle for this cold world. But then my wolf growled inside me, low and deep. There was something else about him, something hidden. "I'm Nurse Eli," he said quietly. "Your son is stable for now. We're giving him medicine." I nodded, my eyes narrowing slightly. His voice was calm, but his scent hit me like lightning. Pine smoke, honey, and underneath, a faint trace I could never forget. Enemy pack. I clenched my jaw. "Where did you learn that scent?" He blinked, confused. "Excuse me?" I took a slow step closer. "You smell like him." His face paled. His hands trembled, the tray he was holding shaking. "I don't know what you mean," but I could see the truth in his eyes. Fear. Recognition. I wanted to roar, to grab him, to ask why his scent matched the traitor Beta who had once stood beside my greatest enemy. But Liam's soft voice called from inside the room. "Daddy!" My anger froze. I turned away from the nurse and went to my son's side. Liam smiled weakly, his small hand reaching for mine. I sat beside him and let him hold onto my finger again, just like the first night I found him. "I'm right here," I whispered. "Rest now." When I looked up again, Eli was still standing by the door, watching us with eyes full of something I couldn't name. Guilt? Sadness? Or was it something softer? Something that made my chest ache even more? He said quietly, "He's strong. He'll recover soon." I wanted to thank him, but my pride wouldn't let me. I just nodded once and kept my eyes on Liam. Still, when Eli walked away, I found myself watching the swing of his shoulders, the way the light caught his hair. My wolf stirred uneasily inside me. "Danger," he whispered. But another voice, softer and strange, said, "Fate." That night, as I sat beside Liam's bed, I couldn't stop thinking about Eli. Why did his scent remind me of the past I had buried? Why did the sound of his voice calm my anger instead of feeding it? And why, when his fingers brushed mine by accident, did my pulse race like it hadn't in years? I stared out the hospital window, watching snow fall under the streetlights. My reflection looked tired, older than my 28 years. But there was something else in my eyes now, a spark I didn't understand. The baby I once found at the gate had become my whole world. And now, the man who smelled like my enemy had walked back into my life, holding the key to everything I thought I'd forgotten. Before dawn, Eli came back to check on Liam. His voice was gentle as he spoke to my son, his hand careful as he fixed the blanket. I watched him in silence. When his eyes met mine, he froze. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. The air between us felt heavy, strange, like the calm before a storm. I broke the silence. "Thank you for helping him." He smiled, small and unsure. "It's my job." But his voice trembled, and I could feel his heartbeat racing, almost matching mine. I leaned closer, my voice low. "If you know something about him, about where he came from, you'll tell me." He swallowed hard. "I don't." Liar. Still, something inside me didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted answers. And maybe, deep down, I wanted to understand why his presence made my chest feel warm and heavy all at once. As he turned to leave, I whispered, "You smell like him." He stopped in the doorway, shoulders tense. "I don't know what you mean," he said again, softer this time. Then he walked away, his steps fading down the hall. I sat there for a long time, my thoughts tangled. The baby at the gate had brought light back into my life. But the man with the familiar scent had just brought the storm. And somehow, I knew this was only the beginning. Days passed after that first meeting at the hospital, but I could not get his scent out of my mind. It clung to me like smoke after a fire, soft, sweet, and dangerous. Eli, the nurse with honey eyes and a voice too gentle for this cruel world. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the way his fingers trembled when I said those words. "You smell like him." He had tried to hide it, but my wolf never forgot a scent. And his scent carried the shadow of the beta who once betrayed me. I told myself it meant nothing, that I was only being careful. But still, I found excuses to go back to the hospital every day. I told my beta I wanted to check on Liam's medicine. I told the doctors I needed updates, but the truth was uglier. I wanted to see him again. When I walked through those hospital doors, my wolf always stirred, pacing under my skin. The sharp scent of disinfectant could not hide him. I could feel him before I saw him, his presence calm, steady, like a ripple under still water. And then he would appear, his hair messy from work, his hands full of papers, his voice soft but firm as he spoke to patients. Every time our eyes met, something inside me tightened. I hated that feeling. "Alpha Hail," he greeted one day, his tone polite. "You're here again?" I crossed my arms, pretending not to notice the way his gaze dropped to my chest before meeting mine again. "My son is still under your care, is he not? I want to make sure he's fine." "He's recovering," Eli said quietly. "You don't need to worry so much." His voice was calm, but his pulse jumped. I could hear it. His scent shifted too. Nervous, warm, sweet like wild honey. My wolf growled in response, not from anger, but something far worse. Desire. I forced my voice to stay cold. "You seem nervous. Are you hiding something from me?" He froze. His lips parted, but no words came. For a moment, the air between us felt too heavy, too tight. Finally, he whispered, "I'm not hiding anything, Alpha." I didn't believe him, but I also didn't press further, because Liam's laugh echoed from the room down the hall, and hearing it made my heart soften enough to walk away. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat by the fire in my study, my hands resting on the arm of the chair, my mind filled with that scent again. I told myself I hated Eli, that he was dangerous, that his scent was a warning from the past. But my heart kept whispering something else, something that made my blood burn. I closed my eyes, remembering how his hand brushed mine earlier when he passed me a chart. The touch had been small, but my wolf had reacted like a flame meeting dry leaves. My breath had caught, and I had seen something in his eyes then. Fear, yes, but also something soft, something that made me want to pull him close and feel his heartbeat against mine. I shook my head, trying to chase the thoughts away. "He's a liar," I told myself. "A traitor's beta. You can't trust him." But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't hate him the way I wanted to. 3 nights later, Liam's fever returned. It was sudden and fierce. His small body burned under my hand, his breath short and fast. Panic rushed through me like lightning. I called every healer in the pack, but none of them could help. My hands shook as I held him. "Stay with me, Liam, please." His small voice whispered, "Daddy hurts?" Before his eyes closed again. My chest ached so much I could hardly breathe. And then, without thinking, I called the hospital. Minutes later, Eli arrived at the mansion. He came running through the door, his white coat flapping behind him, his cheeks red from the cold. He didn't bow. He didn't even ask permission. He went straight to Liam's bed, his hands already working, his voice low and gentle. "It's okay, sweetheart," he whispered, touching Liam's forehead. "You'll be okay." I stood back, watching him. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the lamp near the bed. The light made his hair shimmer like gold, made his eyes look deeper, softer. My wolf was restless. I could feel his heartbeat matching mine. The scent of honey and pine filled the air, mixing with the firelight and the soft sound of Liam's breathing. Eli's hands were shaking slightly as he worked, but his touch was careful. His fingers brushed against mine as he reached for a cloth, and the contact sent heat racing through my veins. He looked up at me then, and for a moment, neither of us moved. His eyes searched mine, full of something I couldn't name. "You care too much for a stranger's child," I muttered, trying to break the tension, my voice rougher than I meant. Eli's lips trembled before he answered, his voice barely a whisper. "Maybe because I owe him my life." I froze. "What did you just say?" He looked down, his jaw tight. "Nothing. I just meant he's innocent. Every child deserves care." But my instincts screamed that there was more. His sense spiked. Fear, guilt, and sorrow all tangled together. My wolf pushed against my control. He wanted to shift, to demand truth. but I held him back. Instead, I stepped closer. His breath hitched. I was too close now, close enough to see the small scar on his jaw, the way his throat moved when he swallowed. The air between us grew hot, thick with something dangerous. He turned away quickly, focusing on the medicine. "He'll be fine," he said, his voice trembling. "He just needs rest." "Eli," I said his name, slow, careful. He stiffened but didn't look at me. I reached out and touched his wrist, forcing him to meet my eyes. "You're hiding something," I said quietly, "and I'll find out what it is." His pulse jumped under my fingers. For a second I thought he would pull away, but he didn't. Instead, he looked up, eyes wide, full of heat and fear. "You shouldn't touch me like that," he whispered. "Why?" I asked. "Because you'll regret it." His words made my chest tighten. The warning in his voice only made me want to touch him more. I let go of his wrist, but my fingers still tingled from the warmth of his skin. He turned back to Liam, pretending to focus on the child, but I saw the way his shoulders rose and fell, the way his breath quickened. When Liam finally fell asleep, Eli stood up slowly. The lamplight cast soft shadows across his face. He looked tired, but beautiful in a quiet, broken way. "Thank you," I said, my voice rough, "for coming." He gave a small smile. "He's a sweet boy. He's lucky to have you." I didn't answer. I just watched him. He hesitated before walking to the door. For a second I thought he'd leave. But then he turned back to me. "Alpha Hale," he said softly. "Do you ever wonder why he was left at your gate?" My chest tightened. "All the time." His eyes darkened with sadness. Maybe it wasn't just fate. Something in his tone made my heart skip. "You know something," I said. He shook his head, too quickly. "No, I just meant. Sometimes, life gives second chances in strange ways." And then he left. After he was gone, I stood in the silence of the room. Liam slept peacefully now, his fever fading. But my thoughts burned like fire. Eli's words, his scent, the way he looked at Liam. Pieces began to fit together. The scent of enemy blood that clung to the child. The same scent that clung to Eli. He was the beta. The one who vanished years ago. The one I thought was dead. I leaned against the wall, my heart pounding. Rage and confusion battled inside me. But beneath them, something darker stirred. Desire. It made no sense. I should have wanted to destroy him. Instead, I wanted to know him. To understand the pain in his eyes, the reason behind his lies. I clenched my fists, breathing hard. "Damn you, Eli," I whispered. "Why do you feel like the truth I've been running from?" The night stretched on. Outside, snow began to fall again, silent and endless. And as I stood there watching it, I knew one thing for certain. This was no simple debt or chance meeting. It was the beginning of something dangerous, something that would burn. The night had barely faded when I found him. Dawn crept over the woods, painting the sky with soft silver light. The air was still cold, the kind that bit at the skin and made breath turn to fog. My boots crushed the frost on the ground as I walked, following the scent that haunted me for nights. Eli, that scent, sweet, warm, yet sharp with the echo of my past, pulled at my chest like a chain. I hated that it still stirred something inside me. I hated that my wolf answered to it. I found him near the small river behind my land, his white coat glowing faintly in the dim light. He stood there with his hands in his pockets, head bowed, staring at the stream as if the water could wash away his sins. He didn't turn when I approached, though I knew he heard me. His heartbeat changed, quicker, nervous. I stopped a few steps away. My voice came out low and rough. "Tell me why you hid from me," I said. "Why you left that baby at my gate." His shoulders stiffened. Then, slowly, he turned to face me. His eyes looked tired, red at the edges as if he hadn't slept. For a long moment he said nothing. Only the sound of the river filled the air between us. Then his voice broke through the silence, soft and trembling. "I didn't mean to hide," he said. "I thought you'd kill me if you ever found out." My jaw clenched. You should have come to me. He shook his head, tears glinting in the weak light. I couldn't. I had to protect him. Protect who? I snapped. The baby you left in the snow? The one you abandoned to freeze. His breath hitched. That child was never mine to keep. Your enemy's alpha, he was dying. He begged me to save his son. I didn't know where else to go, Rowan. I knew you'd find him. And I knew you wouldn't hurt a baby, no matter whose blood ran in his veins. His voice cracked at the end. Something in my chest twisted. The anger that had burned in me for so long began to shake. I took a step closer, fists tight. You're saying that boy Liam was your alpha's son? He nodded. His lips trembled. Yes, and I faked my death that night so no one would follow me. I've been living with that guilt ever since. Watching from far away, making sure he was safe. The truth hit like thunder. My heart pounded so loud it drowned out the river. You've been watching us, I growled. All this time. Eli looked down, shame in his eyes. I just wanted to make sure he was happy. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to shout, to tell him he had no right. But when I saw his tears fall, silent and shining, my fury cracked open. He wasn't lying. His scent told me everything. Pain, fear, truth. My voice came out softer. You could have told me. He smiled weakly. Would you have believed me? I had no answer, because I wouldn't have. Not then. He turned away, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. The wind moved his hair, making him look even smaller, fragile in the dawn light. You should hate me, Rowan, he whispered. Maybe you already do. Something inside me broke then. I took a step forward and grabbed his wrist before he could leave. My hand closed around him tight, feeling the warmth of his pulse under my skin. You don't get to run this time, I said. He froze, his breath catching. We stood there, close enough that I could see the tiny scar at the corner of his mouth, the trembling of his lashes, the rise and fall of his chest. My wolf stirred, growling low inside me, the sound almost human. He looked up at me, eyes wide and wet. Rowan, why? I whispered again, though I already knew the answer. His lips parted, but no words came. The world around us seemed to fade. The cold, the wind, the sound of water. There was only the thrum of our hearts. My wolf surged, the beast in me rising, strong and wild. Before I knew it, I had him against the wall of the old shed nearby. My arm braced beside his head. His breath hitched. He didn't fight me. His eyes glowed faintly in the dawn, gold mixed with brown, soft yet defiant. Why didn't you stay dead, Eli? I muttered, voice shaking. It would have been easier. Because you wouldn't stop haunting me, he said, almost a whisper. Even when I tried to forget, your name stayed in my head. His words tore through me like fire. I leaned closer, close enough to feel his breath brush my lips. My wolf clawed at my control, demanding what I had denied for years. Touch, warmth, the truth between us. If I kiss you, I said quietly, my voice rough, I won't stop. He looked up at me, eyes glistening. Then don't. For a heartbeat, I couldn't breathe. Then I gave in. The space between us vanished. My mouth met his, fierce and desperate, all the anger and pain turning into heat. His hands gripped my shirt, pulling me closer. The world spun. The wind howled through the trees, the river roared louder, but all I felt was him. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was years of loss, of hate turned to longing, of hearts breaking and trying to mend. When we finally pulled apart, both of us were gasping. Eli's lips trembled. Rowan! I rested my forehead against his, trying to steady my breath. You should have told me the truth sooner. I was afraid, he whispered. I thought you'd see me as the enemy. I did, I admitted softly. But not anymore. The moon, half hidden by the dawn, hung pale in the sky above us. Its light washed over him, soft and silver. For the first time in years, I felt something like peace. I lifted a hand and brushed a tear from his cheek. He didn't pull away. I don't know what happens next, he said. Neither do I replied. But I know I can't lose you again. He smiled faintly through his tears. Then don't. We stood there in silence, the first rays of morning touching the trees, the world slowly waking. My wolf settled, quiet but alert, as if recognizing something I denied for too long. The past still lived between us. Pain, secrets, blood, but under the moon's fading light, it didn't feel as heavy. Not anymore. I looked at him one last time before turning toward the house. Come inside, I said. He'll wake soon. Liam will want to see you. Eli nodded, his steps soft as he followed. As we walked side by side, I could still feel the warmth of his hand where I'd held him. And for the first time since the night I found that baby at the gate, I didn't feel alone. The days after that night felt strange. The air in the mansion didn't bite as much as it used to. The walls, once cold and silent, now carried the sound of laughter, soft, careful laughter that came from Eli. He moved through the halls with quiet steps, carrying medicine, food, or sometimes just a story for Liam. My son had grown attached to him quickly. Every time Eli entered the room, Liam's small face would light up, and the boy would throw himself into Eli's arms like he had always belonged there. It warmed something deep inside me, and scared me too. I watched them from the doorway one morning. The sun came through the window, falling on Eli's face, turning his hair to gold. He was kneeling beside Liam's bed, helping him with a puzzle, his voice soft and patient. Liam laughed, a bright, full sound. My chest tightened. I hadn't heard my son laugh like that in months. Eli looked up then and our eyes met. For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. His smile faded, replaced by something shy, almost guilty. I nodded once and turned away before my wolf could make me do something reckless, like pull him close right there in front of my child. That peace didn't last long. By noon, the scent of anger filled the air. My beta, Cain, stormed into the hall with a group of older warriors. Their eyes burned with suspicion. Alpha, Cain said, his voice hard. You need to see this. They dragged Eli forward. His clothes were torn, his face pale. He didn't fight, but I saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear I'd once seen on battlefields. My wolf bristled. What is the meaning of this? I demanded. Cain threw a folded paper on the floor. We found him near the edge of the border, Alpha. He was sending a message. A report. That's not true, Eli said, his voice shaking. I wasn't. Silence. Cain snapped. He's an enemy spy. He's from the pack that slaughtered our own. The room filled with growls and curses. My warriors stepped closer, eyes flashing. Eli stumbled back, trembling. Liam's voice echoed from the stairs, small, scared. Papa. That one word stopped everything. I turned, and there was my son, clutching the railing, eyes wide. He didn't understand, but he could feel the danger. Eli looked up at him, pain and guilt written all over his face. Something in me snapped. Enough, I growled. My voice filled the hall, thick and deep with alpha power. No one touches him. Cain frowned. But Alpha. I stepped in front of Eli, my body a shield. My wolf pushed at the edge of my skin, glowing under the surface. I said, touch him and you answer to me. The silence that followed was sharp as glass. Cain's eyes widened, but he bowed his head. Yes, Alpha. When the others left, I turned to Eli. His breathing was shaky, his eyes wet. You shouldn't have gone near the border, I said quietly. I was trying to get medicine for Liam, he whispered. The kind that human stores don't sell anymore. I didn't mean to cause trouble. My anger faded as fast as it came. I sighed and rubbed a hand over my face. You could have told me. He looked down. I didn't think you'd care. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. That night, the house was quiet again. The moonlight slid through the window like water, silver and cold. Couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the look on his face, that mix of fear and sadness. I found him in the guest room, sitting on the edge of the bed with his bag packed. You're leaving, I said flatly. He didn't look at me. It's better this way, Rowan. The others don't want me here. And Liam, He shouldn't get too attached to me. I stepped closer. You think I'll let you walk out? He stood, his small frame trembling. I don't want to cause more fights. I'm not one of you. I don't belong here. You do, I said, my voice rising. You belong here with him, with us. His eyes filled with tears. Why do you care so much? I opened my mouth, but no words came. My wolf growled inside me, restless and wild. I could feel its need, its anger, its fear of losing him again. I don't know, I said softly, but I can't watch you leave again. Eli shook his head, trying to move past me. I caught his wrist. He struggled, and the sound of his breath hitched when I pulled him close. Rowan, he whispered, please don't. But the space between us vanished. The heat that had been building for weeks crashed through us like fire. My control broke, and my wolf howled within me. Every time you run, I said, my breath ragged, I lose control. Do you understand that? His eyes met mine, bright, scared, wanting. Then what are you waiting for? The words hit me like a spark. I cupped his face, my thumb brushing his jaw. The world fell away. Only his heartbeat and mine, wild and fast. Our lips met, slow at first, then deep and desperate. He melted against me, soft gasps escaping between our breaths. The fire inside me wasn't just passion. It was something older, rawer. My wolf's instincts rose not to claim but to protect. I pulled him closer, burying my face against his neck. His scent filled my lungs, warm, sweet, alive. Without thinking, I pressed my lips to his skin, right where his pulse beat strong. I let my scent mix with his, marking him softly, not as an order, but as a promise. He trembled in my arms, fingers digging into my shirt. Rowan, I'm here, I whispered. You're safe. The storm inside me quieted as he leaned against my chest. The mark glowed faintly under the moonlight, a small symbol of belonging, of the bond neither of us could deny anymore. After a long moment, he lifted his head. I thought you'd hate me forever, he said softly. I brushed a strand of hair from his face and kissed his forehead. I tried, I admitted, smiling weakly. But my wolf chose you long ago. Eli's eyes softened. Then what does that make me? Mine, I whispered. He smiled through his tears, and I pulled him closer, wrapping him in my arms as the moonlight poured over us. The scent of fur and fire filled the air, wild, alive, and new. For the first time I felt whole. Not just as an alpha, not just as a father, but as a man who had finally found the piece of himself he didn't know was missing. Eli's heartbeat slowed against mine. His voice was sleepy, fragile. Will it always be this hard? Yes, I said, kissing his hair. But it will also be worth it. Outside, a wolf howled in the distance, and I knew the world would not stay quiet for long. But for that night, just that one night, the fire in me burned with peace instead of rage. And I held him close, knowing I would fight anyone, even the moon itself, to keep him safe. The wind howled that morning, sharp and cold. I could smell danger before I even saw it. The scent of blood, of wolves I didn't know, drifted through the trees like poison. Dawn hadn't fully risen yet. The pack mansion still slept, the hall silent except for the steady sound of Eli's breathing beside Liam's room. I had told him to rest. He never listened. Something in my chest tightened. My wolf stirred restlessly inside me. Then the first howl split the air. Enemy. I ran. My feet pounded against the floor, heart hammering in rhythm with my wolf's growl. By the time I reached the door, the scent was everywhere. Fire, smoke, fury. The enemy pack had come. They wanted revenge. For the war years ago. For the baby I had taken in. For Liam. Eli, I shouted, bursting into the hall. He was already there, holding Liam close to his chest, eyes wide and frightened but full of courage. What's happening? They've come for us, I said, grabbing his arm. Stay behind me. The door crashed open before I could finish. Wolves flooded in, teeth bared, claws glinting in the dim light. I shifted, My body broke and rebuilt in a heartbeat. Fur, claws, fangs. My wolf roared, shaking the air. I lunged, tearing through the first attacker before he even touched the stairs. The house filled with the sound of snarls, the smell of blood. Through the chaos, I saw Eli crouched behind the wall with Liam, shielding him. His eyes met mine, not in fear, but trust. That trust gave me strength. I fought harder, faster. Every time one of them got close to Eli, something inside me burned hotter. My claws slashed through them like lightning, but there were too many. One wolf slipped past me, heading for Eli. Eli! I roared. He turned, pushing Liam behind him, and grabbed a silver blade from the floor. His hands shook, but he swung it hard, cutting the enemy's arm. The wolf snarled and threw him back against the wall. Eli fell, crying out in pain. Blood stained his shirt. I lost control. My wolf howled, full of rage and fear, and I charged. The fight blurred into red and shadow until none of them were left standing. The last enemy tried to crawl away. I ended it in one swift move. Silence returned, broken only by the sound of my own heavy breathing. Then I heard it, a soft whimper. Rowan! I turned. Eli lay on the floor, holding his side, his hands slick with blood. Liam knelt beside him, tears running down his cheeks. I shifted back, falling to my knees. My hands shook as I lifted Eli into my arms. No, 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 no. He smiled weakly, trying to speak. You saved us. Don't close your eyes, Eli, I said, pressing my hand to his wound. Not when I've just found you. His hand brushed my cheek. You always find me, he whispered, his breath shallow. I could feel his heartbeat fading. Panic clawed at me, stronger than any pain, any fear I'd ever felt. My wolf whimpered inside me, helpless. Stay with me, I begged. You hear me? Stay. Liam sobbed softly, clutching Eli's hand. Daddy, please don't go. Those words shattered me. I tore a strip from my cloak and pressed it hard against Eli's wound. My hands were steady even though everything inside me trembled. You're not dying, I said fiercely. Not now. Not ever. He winced, whispering, You sound scared. I am, I said honestly. Because you're my heart, Eli. His eyes fluttered, then slowly closed. I carried him outside, my voice breaking as I shouted for the healers. The sun finally rose, spilling gold over the blood-stained snow. I laid him down, refusing to let go until the pack medic pushed me back. Hours passed. I waited outside, covered in dirt and blood, my fists clenched. Liam sat beside me, leaning against my arm. He'll be okay, right? He asked in a small voice. I looked at the door, where healers worked to save the man who had become everything to us. He has to be, I said, because I can't lose him. When the door opened, the healer smiled faintly. He'll live. I didn't breathe for a moment. Then I exhaled and fell to my knees. Relief hit me so hard it almost hurt. Days passed. The mansion slowly returned to calm. The smoke cleared, the enemies were gone, and Eli healed little by little. Every night I sat by his bed. Sometimes he woke and smiled at me, too tired to speak. Other times he reached out, and I held his hand until he fell asleep again. Liam often curled up beside him, whispering stories until he drifted off too. Watching them made something deep in me ache. Not with pain this time, but peace. A week later, the moon was full again. The sky was clear, painted in silver light. Eli could finally walk, though I stayed close in case he stumbled. We sat on the grass outside the mansion, Eli, Liam, and me. The air was cool, the stars bright. Liam lay between us, pointing at the moon. It looks like it's smiling, he said. Eli chuckled softly. Maybe it's happy because we're all here. I looked at them both. My son and the man who had once been my enemy. My family. The thought made my chest warm. I never wanted a family, I said quietly. I thought it would make me weak. Eli looked at me, his eyes gentle. And now, I smiled faintly. Now I know I was wrong. I never wanted a family. Until I met you. And him. Liam grinned up at me. Does that mean we're your favorite pack? I laughed softly and pulled him closer. Yes, my only pack. Eli leaned his head against my shoulder. You've changed, Rowan. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I just finally found what was missing. He reached for my hand, fingers slipping between mine. His touch was soft, warm, steady. We sat there for a long time, the three of us saying nothing. The moon shone above us like a guardian, bathing us in its calm light. Liam's eyelids grew heavy. He yawned and murmured sleepily, "Good night, Dad." And other Dad. Eli's cheeks turned pink. I laughed quietly. You heard him, I said. We're both his fathers now. Eli smiled, tears glimmering in his eyes. I think I liked the sound of that. I wrapped an arm around him and kissed his hair. Get used to it, I said. You're not going anywhere. The night deepened, peaceful and still. My wolf rested quietly inside me, content for the first time in years. As I watched the moon rise higher, I thought of everything that had led us here. The snow, the baby at the gate, the years of pain and anger. Every step, every scar had brought me to this moment. They say alphas are born to protect. Maybe that's true. But I think I was reborn the day I found him, and the baby that made us whole. Thank you for watching this beautiful story. If Rowan and Eli's story touched your heart, their love, their pain, and the family they found under the moon, don't forget to show your support. Tell us your favorite moment in the comments below. Subscribe to Cherryboyhearts BL channel for more slow burn love stories filled with passion, healing, and unforgettable alphas. Until next time, may your moon always lead you home.